Hey folks, welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. See, I do give you something every once in a while. Today we're going to be talking about Pulp Cthulhu for 7th edition Call of Cthulhu. Two-fisted action and adventure against the mythos. Frankly, folks, I'm conflicted about this book. I hate to say bad things about a book. I truly do, because it's against my policy and I don't like to crap on other people's favorite things. But I got to be upfront with you about this. This is a long-promised book because this was promised and then it was on publication list, and then when Chaosium went through their dark times, a lot of people thought it became vaporware. And then it's come out since then. It's a very beautifully done hardback book, very evocative of the era, the art, everything is nice. The problem is, I feel like it's a little too late. But before I get into that, let me give you a small essay on my feelings on the combination of Pulp and Cthulhu. I'm fine with it, honestly. I know it's antithetical to a lot of Lovecraft's purists, which I look at that and I giggle. I hear Lovecraft purists and I think it's funny. But anyway, I have no problem with this because, honestly, consider your Pulp Heroes. Probably at the more powerful end of it, you've got Doc Savage. Over here, you've got Indiana Jones. Now, I realize, Indy's more powerful than that. No, he's really not, folks. You ever notice how many times that guy fucks up? So, anyway, then in the middle, you've got the Shadow. You've got the Spider. If you really know your pulps, you'll know who he is. And then you've got Rick O'Connell from the Mummy movies. I have no problem bringing these characters to Call of Cthulhu, and here's why. I don't think a game is interesting where you are doomed from the outset, you cannot do anything, and there is no hope. I don't find that interesting gaming. I know I'm not a Lovecraft purist, I'm perfectly fine with that. Plus, I present to you this, no matter how tough, powerful, and awesome Doc Savage or Tarzan were, they're not going to hold up any better against the eldritch nasty blast from the viscid gobs of Yog-Sothoth than, say, your average bookworm asthmatic professor. They're both going to be a thin red paste left over at the end. What the Pulp characters let you do is survive the lower level threats, your cultists, your minor mythos threats, your ghouls, your deep ones, etc. I know there are no such thing as minor mythos threats. But that's where you can survive them better. And that's where I think it brings a little bit more fun and, for God's sake, the occasional giggle to Call of Cthulhu. All right, done with that. What are my issues with this book? Well, one, too little in that I don't think it makes the characters powerful enough. They put you down here around the Indiana Jones and less level of play. It doesn't really support the Shadow or Doc Savage very well. And too late in that I think other people, individual gamers, have come up with their own ways of doing this. I know I have when I run Cthulhu. And I think other products have done it, honestly, a little bit better. And I'll point to Realms of Cthulhu by Sean Preston, and I'll point to Achtung Cthulhu as games that I think have set that up better. But this isn't about them, this is about Pulp Cthulhu. The first thing it tells you what to do is make your new characters. How do you make a Pulp Cthulhu character? Well, you choose from archetypes that are out there. Now, those archetypes range everything from explorer to beefcake, the steadfast to the hunter. Every one of these gives you a core attribute that's important to you, 100 extra skill points to put into a list of skills. You can put them into as many or as few of them as you want. 100 extra skill points in Call of Cthulhu can be good. It gives you suggested occupations that you can fill in there. Talents, we'll come back to those in a minute. This is one of the things where I have to, a little bit. And finally, suggested role-playing traits. Now, there are new occupations in here, too. Everything from a union representative or a fighter for unions to a federal investigator. All right, some of these seem familiar to Call of Cthulhu, but I present to you a suffragette is not something you usually think of as a Call of Cthulhu occupation. Good on you if you have, but it's just not one you normally come up with in the realm of private investigators, former soldiers, and cat burglars. Or, as I like to call it, what most of my Call of Cthulhu players have done over the years. Then you get to the talents. Now, the talents are where I have the too little problem with this. Because, for example, there are physical talents. You can choose or roll a d10 and get one. You can have Stout Constitution, may spend 10 luck points to reduce the poison or disease damage effects by half. Useful. Not everyday useful, but useful. Night Vision. Reduce the difficulty level of spot hidden rolls and ignore the penalty die in shooting in the dark. You're not exactly making Doc Savage here. Combat talents, all right. Heavy Hitter. May spend 10 luck points to add additional damage die when dealing out melee combat. That's decent. Rapid Fire. Ignores penalty die for multiple handgun shots. I just feel like it's not making you pulpy enough, honestly. It's not getting there for me. So beyond that, it builds a very interesting world for you. It gives you a pretty well detailed life of what life was like in the 30s. The really super glitzy rich and the Dust Bowl. And it does it for all over the world. It gives you some new organizations to deal with. And sort of unlike regular Cthulhu, gives you some good ones that you can work for too. There's Vanguard, which is a smaller private-ish club. And then you've got Department 29, if you want to bring in the big guns and you want to bring the government into this. Then you've got the bad guys. You've got Ambrosia, Grey Tiger, and Inheritors. Each one of these brings a very different set of ideas and flavors to the Pulp era game as villainous groups. There also gives you some new uses of luck. So instead of what you can use luck for in the regular game, which is modify your dice rolls, you can spend points in luck to have your sanity loss, diminish wounds, etc. And then you've also got mook rules, which is very nice for Call of Cthulhu, although I present to you the mooks still pose a threat. When I think of mooks, I think of someone you can plow through in order to get to the bad guy, or someone you have to plow through in order for the bad guy to escape. All right. It gives you some adventure generators, a series of NPCs, both real and fictional for you to use, and finally some adventures in there. I don't feel like you got to have this book. I truly don't. I think there's some good ideas in here. I think you can mine it. I think it's mineable. I think it will be a must-have for collectors of all things Chaosium. You'll notice I have it. But at the end of the day, I think if you really want to do this and you want your characters to be a bit more powerful, I think you can find other ways of doing it that do it, quite frankly, better. I feel really bad saying this because I love Chaosium. I love their rebirth. That is not dead, which can eternal lie. I think they're doing a lot of good stuff. I just don't think this is it. Have fun gaming, y'all.